Okay, hello everybody. This is Doug Nesbitt. I'm the Director of Affordable Finance and Fair Lending for CMG Home Loans, and you're tuned into the webinar series for agents, HomeFundIt, and this is brought to you by ChuckTown Homes Real Estate, Keller Williams, and I'm excited to talk to you today about HomeFundIt. This will be a brief introduction for agents to give you a feel for how the HomeFundIt program works and how it can help your buyers. And for more information, obviously, you're going to want to reach out to your local team there in Charleston. And we'll give you their contact information at the end. A little bit about CMG, from whom HomeFundIt flows. CMG was founded in 1993. A guy named Chris George here in San Ramon, California. We are coast to coast. We're a top 5 lender. We're the largest privately held lender in the country. And full range of products that you might expect from a top lender, including some proprietary programs. And the one we're going to talk about here today is HomeFundIt. So HomeFundIt, what does it do and how can it help you? Well, the number one focus for HomeFundIt is to help buyers solve that number one problem that they have in getting into a home today, and that's the down payment. We'll be talking a lot about that, obviously. And the second main thing that it does is it helps you hang on to buyers who are not ready to go yet, not ready to jump into the market yet, and help them get ready to buy sooner. And when they do buy, they'll be working with you. It gives you a almost unfair strategic advantage over your competition. So we're going to talk a lot about that as we go through. And then after they buy, one of the unique things about HomeFundIt is that when used correctly, HomeFundIt generates more downstream referrals once they buy, and you'll see how that happens as well. So let's talk about first-time home buyers, because that's who largely is using HomeFundIt. They're dealing with big issues, as we all know. High home prices, rising rents, student debt and credit card debt slowing up the process of saving for a down payment. And when you talk to people who are still renting, the vast majority of them will tell you that the number one problem that they're trying to overcome is the down payment. Yes, they have other things that they have to accomplish as well in life, maybe working on credit or getting married, or maybe they just started their first lease on an apartment, but they're all going to have to come over that down payment hurdle. And HomeFundIt is what can really help them get there quicker. Now, today, when people are saving for a down payment, Zillow did an interesting study around how much the average renter is saving for that down payment. The average renter saves around 2.8% of their income for a down payment. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, right? Even if you're saving 10% aggressively towards saving that down payment, it could still take you years to come up with the standard 20% down payment. And in some markets, that means you'll be working on that for 17 years. In a low-cost market, maybe 7 years. Now, we all know that 20% down is no longer the minimum down payment. Today, you can get into a home for 3% down. So let's see, at 10% savings rate, putting aside 10%, how long is it going to take me to come up with a 3% down payment? Even then, it can take you between 1 and 3 years of saving pretty aggressively to come up with that down payment. So the question, now, none of that should be rocket science to any of you guys. You guys all know that it takes a while to save a down payment, right? The thing to think about, though, is what are you doing and what can you do in that 1 to 3 year period to connect with that buyer in a meaningful way, in a way that can actually help them make progress towards getting that down payment. And that's what we do when we talk about HomeFundIt. There's a lot of those folks out there. Today, there are about 4 million current buyers per year, roughly, in the marketplace today. That number kind of jumps around a little bit depending on whether you're including new construction or what year it is, in fact. But that number is roughly in that range every year. How many folks are out there that are not ready to go, waiting on the sidelines to buy a house that could potentially pay a mortgage? Well, Freddie Mac actually tracks that number annually. They call them mortgage-ready buyers. These are folks with no mortgage. They're age 18 to 40. They have a FICO of 620 or better, DTI of 25 or less, and no blemishes on their credit record. These are folks who could potentially pay a mortgage, but for the fact they don't have a down payment. There are 10 of those out there for every one that you were working to help buy a house today, on the sidelines, potentially be able to pay a mortgage, but they probably don't have the down payment. So it's a huge number of folks out there that are what we call up the funnel a little ways from being ready to buy. And your job, if you want to grow your business, is to grab onto some of those folks and help them get there quicker, right? So today, how do people come up with the down payment quicker? Well, traditional down payment gifting is probably the only way, short of getting a raise from your boss or maybe winning the lottery. There's not a lot of other ways to come up with a bigger down payment, but to get some help from some other folks. And thankfully, under Fannie, Freddie, FHA guidelines, people can do down payment gifting. But what we only see in about 25% of cases is gifts coming in from Bank of Mom and Dad, right? Under those guidelines, other relatives can help with the down payment, but they don't get asked for some very good reasons. It's kind of a pain, right? You got to come up with paper checks, gift letters. There's crazy rules around who's a relative and who's not a relative. Your buyer doesn't understand that. Nobody wants to ask their grandma for their bank statements, right? And by the time they actually find out about how to do all this stuff, it's fairly late in the process. So they don't have time to go back to the other relatives and get help, right? So it doesn't generally happen. And when we were building HomeFundIt, we said, yeah, that's kind of a problem. Let's figure out how to do this whole thing online, compliant, with a debit card or credit card and no offline paperwork. And it makes it easier for all those relatives to be able to help with the down payment. In fact, we said, why would we stop there? Let's make it so that anybody can give to the down payment. And let's figure out a way to do that so that they don't have to worry about who can give and who can't give. In fact, on HomeFundIt, you can give up to $5,000 per donor from anyone. No maximum on how much you can raise on the campaign. So everybody that wants to can give up to $5,000. There's no commissions or hidden costs. 100% of the money that's donated goes through to the buyer. We cover all of the costs of operating the platform. And a big one, there's no time limits on HomeFundIt. You can set these up as early as you want. You don't need to have good credit. You don't need to be ready to go shopping for a house. You don't need to be ready for filling out a loan application or being pre-qualified or anything. All you need is a computer, and you want to buy a house down the road someday, and you know you're going to need a bigger down payment, and you know that potentially there's some people in your life that want to be able to help you. And ultimately, when you do get around to applying for a loan, it's going to work with any loan program out there except for HFA bond programs. Boil this whole thing down. We've got online down payment gifting where anyone can give. We've moved the process online, taken the friction out of it, and we've opened up the playing field to where anyone can help with that down payment. It sets up very, very easily. They just go through a few simple setup screens, and presto, they've got a page on the web where their family and their friends can help a little bit with the down payment. As you can see here, the pages look like everything, family and friends and weddings and graduations and dogs and cats. We've seen it all. They can customize the picture on their campaign, the title of their campaign. We've got a nice little default story that we start them off with, and they can modify that. The loan officer and the real estate agent are both featured on the campaign page. In the upper right-hand corner, this is where people can donate. There is a second way to add funds to a campaign. It's called Up It. I'll talk about that in a second. And in the bottom right, you can see where all the gifts are coming in, and that goes way down the page as people are donating. We match those gifts 2 to 1, up to the lesser of $2,000 or 1% of purchase price. We apply that as a lender credit at closing. So you've got your gift money, and then you've got your $2,000 lender credit match. To use HomeFundIt, you do have to do home buyer ed prior to signing a purchase contract, and you can use any HUD-approved home buyer ed course, but you have to do it before you sign a purchase contract. Biggest purchase of your life, kind of like to have it done before that. And to get the lender credit, you do have to be a first-time buyer. That means that you don't have to be a first-time buyer to use the platform, but to get the $2,000, you do have to be a first-time buyer. Now we can stack these grants, the $2,000 grant, along with Fannie and Freddie's income-based grant. So if your buyer is making at or below 50% of the area median income, they can use a program like Home Possible or Home Ready, 3% down, and get an extra $2,500 on top of our $2,000 on top of the gift money that they're raising. So it's a pretty good deal for folks who are in the lower income bracket. Up It, second way to add funds to a campaign. You do that simply by shopping. It's built into every campaign. Each one of them has a link that goes right to a world of online retailers. There's about 1,000 of them in there. Each one of them rebates a certain percentage of what got spent back to the down payment as a pledge at closing. So it's a pledge. You have to close to get these dollars. It averages about 7.5%, 7.6%, ranges from 1 to 50%, depending on what store you're shopping at. And all the stores that you know and love are in here. So you can shop to your heart's content and get a little extra money for your campaign. And anybody can shop using that link. So if you got a good sized family that's doing online shopping, it's the way to go. We've closed a lot of these, so we've seen a lot of different types of campaigns, a lot of different reasons for campaigns, etc. Probably the median donations around 500, and that's a weighted average of friends and family and close family members donating all the way up to 5,000. So we see some pretty good campaigns. There's no upper limit on these campaigns, so they can be very large in some cases. What I would say the sweet spot campaign is 5 to 15,000, 5 to 15 donors. This is for a good-looking, well-shared campaign. This is actually a South Carolina campaign. It was from one of our team's customers. They had gotten married and then found out about HomeFundIt after they got married. They were kind of wishing they had found out about it before their wedding, I think. But they gave it a try anyway, and they invited people to come by their page and just check it out. A lot of those folks had been to their wedding, and they were just blown away. They actually only thought their parents would give, but as it turned out, 13 people gave almost $11,000 in just a few weekends. And it really made them be able to buy sooner, stronger, and it gave them that group of support that was around them as they bought their first house. And it was a great example of what we call a sweet spot campaign. Good looking, well shared campaign pretty much always jumps into this range. And what that sets up for you as the agent is what we call the network effect. In a typical home purchase, you have a limited number of people who are involved in the transaction. But in a HomeFundIt purchase, you've got those people who are helping that couple buy their house around them, supporting them. And guess what? They all have networks of their own. So they go out and they talk to their family and friends about this cool thing called HomeFundIt that they use to help their friends or family member buy a house. And next thing you know, you're getting referrals from those folks. The key here is to start early enough. And remember, there's no time limit to be able to let that buyer do their thing, connect with all their family members and so forth. That's a process that takes some time. So it's important to leverage the fact that you can start HomeFundIt as early as possible. The buyer does not need to be ready to buy. They need to be thinking about raising a down payment, certainly, and give them that time to be able to bring it up when they meet with their family, they're out with their friends, grandma comes to visit, backyard barbecue. They whip out their phone and they say, hey, we're doing this thing called HomeFundIt. And next thing you know, those people say, sure, we'll help you. And you end up with this donor network. And then for your benefit, what we do is we go back out to those donors at funding, 1 month after funding, 3 months after funding, and 1 year after funding, and drive referrals with a marketing campaign to those folks saying, thanks again for helping with our down payment. We couldn't have done it without you. If you know anybody else who's interested in doing something like this, here's the team that brought it to us. And you get some free marketing downstream after the purchase to people who would not have been part of a traditional purchase. So completely revolutionary. Only HomeFundIt brings you this. So this is a great reason to do HomeFundIt and start really early so you can generate that referral power. Now, there are 6 ways that people are doing to build HomeFundIt, 6 business building strategies. I'm going to go through these one by one really fast. You can contact your local team there to get more information on how you can get going on some of these. But the number one that everybody's doing as agents is put up a realtor portal for yourself. These are self-contained marketing portals that agents can put up in just about 2 minutes. All you need is your logo and your picture. And it's a way for you to present HomeFundIt to people that you are bumping into out there who would make great homeowners down the road and who know they need a bigger down payment and would love to make it happen a little bit faster. Sets up really easily. It's got some great nurture marketing in it because some of these campaigns can be long-range campaigns. You're in front of them every single week with nurture marketing email, co-branded with you and your loan officer, giving them an update on how their campaign's working, encouraging them, etc. Helps you stay connected over the long haul while these folks are building up that down payment. It's got great marketing tools to help you build a bigger pipeline, including customized branded videos. These are self-contained marketing platforms that you can use to start people off on their HomeFundIt journey. It's really easy to get one of these. You're going to love them. Realtor.homefundit.com. Strategy 2 is weddings and wedding expos. It's probably the hot strategy within the HomeFundIt world these days. And it's because of the statistics. 65% of people getting married are going to buy a house within 48 months. And there's between 2.1 and 2.5 million couples getting engaged every year. And half of them are tapping wedding guests for help with their down payment. Now today, that means cash funds asking parents for down payment, etc. But HomeFundIt is a tool that really makes it easy. It's a very simple pitch. Let your wedding guests help you with your down payment. In fact, today it's a very easy sell because most couples getting married have all the stuff that they need. What they need is a down payment. We kind of position ourselves as the alternative to a registry. In fact, we don't like to call this a registry because it's kind of the thing you do when instead of a registry. We've got a huge amount of marketing support on this that our team can get with you, customized flyers, all kinds of materials for wedding expos, including activation coupons that can get people from the wedding expo to a campaign connected to their wedding website very, very quickly. So the weddings and wedding expos, we have a huge amount of experience at. And I think probably every weekend we're seeing HomeFundIt show up at a wedding expo around the country somewhere with a loan officer and real estate agent team. So if you're interested in something like this, make sure you connect with the team because they are fantastic at reaching people who are absolutely going to be buying a house in the very near future. Strategy 3 is the next gen buyer strategy. And this is where, today you reach out to a past client and you say, call me when your kids are ready to buy a house. And you hope that they're going to call you someday. Today, you can reach out to them and say, hey, we've got this great new tool that can help your kids buy a house sooner and the whole family can jump in and make that happen. You're looking at a picture of a young lady at the top here who found out about it from her dad, the guy in the purple shirt here. He's a real estate broker, runs Gray Fox Realty out in Nashville, found out about HomeFundIt just like you're hearing about it here. Went home, talked to his daughter. She said, I do want to buy a house after I graduate. She puts a QR code in her graduation announcement, says, hey, I'm getting a 2-to-1 match and I'd love to buy a house after I graduate. So I'd love help with my down payment. She had a house by November after graduating. So a powerful example of how just connecting with your past buyers and finding out where the kids are at in the life journey and saying, hey, we've got this great new tool that can help them buy a house sooner. Let me tell you about it. So fantastic tool. And then you can guide that person to the portal that you just set up. Strategy 4, buyers needing time. This is the big wide strategy that we kind of talked about at the beginning. All those buyers on the sidelines, the 10 who are waiting to build up the down payment for every one that you're dealing with today in the market, they're on the sidelines for all kinds of reasons. They can't find what they're looking for, still saving, getting married next year, just re-signed a lease, all kinds of reasons. Some of them may be kind of given up, right? They got turned down and they're in frozen mode, right? All those folks in many cases are going to make great homeowners, just not right now, but they're all going to need a down payment, right? So there's no reason they couldn't get started with HomeFundIt, secure them into your pipeline while they get going on their down payment, working with family and friends to make it bigger and do it quicker. And along the way, a lot of times what they find out is that there's a low down payment program that can help them get going even sooner than they thought possible. So strategy 4 is a very big, broad strategy that allows you to just tap into pretty much anybody that's on the sidelines. Strategy 5 is one of my favorites. It is the renovation strategy. It's kind of a niche strategy, but it's a great one because it makes such a great HomeFundIt story. Today we have a shortage of inventory out there, and a lot of first-time buyers are not quite sure about fixer-uppers. And we have aging inventory out there. We have a fantastic renovation loan team. And renovation pairs really well with HomeFundIt because it's a great campaign story to take to your family, your friends, and say, hey, we found this old fixer-upper. I need a little help with the down payment, but we have a team ready to turn it into our dream home. And it can be kind of a HGTV barn raising type story. So if you've got buyers who are open to something like this can be a fantastic strategy that can really drop them into your pipeline easily. Strategy 6 is our last one here, and this is organizations. This one's also a very active strategy. A lot of companies want to help their people with home ownership. And we've got a special page that a company or an organization of any kind can set up and offer home ownership to their people, whoever that happens to be. It's a great benefit for a company to attract and retain good people, to help them show their commitment towards home ownership, which is one of the big goals that all employees basically have. Probably our best one is our one here at the top. It's Hamra Enterprises. They are a giant franchisor of Wendy's, Panera, Noodles and Company, Caribou Coffee. They're kicking in up to $2,500 per employee. They actually have 3 portals, different parts of the country, plus R2000 they get to offer, plus generally money coming in from Fannie and Freddie grants, plus online gifting, and a 3% down payment program. So organizations are able to really boost their employees' ability to buy a home this way. We have builders that are using these. We have nonprofits that are using these. And a really good one, wedding planners and wedding coordinators. They are using it to stand out in a crowded field by saying, hey, we have this value-added program that can be part of your wedding. So if you've got an organization out there that might be interested in something like this, let us know and we can help you approach them. All we need is just basically a little bit of interest from that organization. We can walk them through these portals and show them how they work. A great way to tap into a large group of buyers. So to kind of conclude, today when you're meeting a buyer, typically you're meeting them at the end of this long journey of getting ready to buy a house, which can, as you know, take years, right? But with HomeFundIt, you have the ability to kind of jump the line and you can start that relationship way, way upstream from where your competition is. That starting point can be as soon as they sort of wake up to the fact that, hey, I'd like to be a homeowner someday, right? They can start using HomeFundIt. There's no time limit, no minimum age, don't need to have good credit, don't need to have a loan file going. All you need is a computer and want to buy a house someday. That gives you a huge advantage in the marketplace today. And they're going to get done sooner. You're going to take a deal off the table that your competitors can no longer have. And along the way, a lot of times they find a low down payment program that can help them get going sooner and help you make that purchase happen earlier than it would have happened in the normal world. So it's a huge strategic advantage to have a tool like this. So for you, it can secure those long-range buyers, helps you preempt competition, helps you speed up the purchase for a buyer because they're getting help from others in their family that they wouldn't have been able to get today in the traditional down payment gifting approach. And with more people involved in that purchase, you have the potential for more referrals down the road. For your buyer, it's a game changer because you go from this friction-laden system that they learn about too late to early advanced knowledge of a system that has all kinds of possibilities because it's online with no friction and anyone can help. So it's a powerful tool for your buyer. And again, time is your friend on this thing. So steps to success, set up a portal, really easy to do. They're free, 1 to 2 minutes, logo, picture, you're done. Realtor.homefundit.com. Every first-time buyer should hear about this because you haven't met a first-time buyer that couldn't use a larger down payment, right? So get the conversations rolling, and the earlier, the better. The key thing is identifying those prospective buyers. Remember the 10 that are out on the sidelines for every one that you're working with today. And it takes a little bit of retraining to spot those folks. They're out there, you know them. The key is recognizing that and then going out and saying, hey, we've got this tool that could help you get there quicker. They're the kids of the past clients that you know. They are the people who are just starting their first job in the community, maybe just signed a lease, maybe getting married next year and going to buy a house after that. Today, we write those folks off because we can't help them today. But with HomeFundIt, you can connect with those folks. They go in your pipeline, and when they're ready to buy, they're your customers. And little things can make a big difference, like posting testimonial videos, updating your signature block to lead to your new portal, etc. So those are the things that people are doing to really drive their business. You want to make sure that you connect with our local team and their contact information here. I want to thank you for the time. Again, it's Doug Nesbitt, Director of Affordable Finance and Fair Lending for CMG. And thanks again, and we'll hope to see you out there on the HomeFundIt trail on the days and weeks ahead. Take care, everybody. Bye now.